Howdy, neighbor. My name is Bernie Rawhide Stuff. I'm the mayor of the big city of Everett, and we welcome you to our town, Everett. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It'll help us every day, it will brighten all our way, if we keep on the sunny side of life.
On a warm summer day in July, a group of community volunteers from Everett came together with their video cameras and spent the day taping the people, places, and happenings of the Everett area. They came back with some great pictures and stories. This is our town, Everett. Our Town Everett is made possible in part by Everett Cash Mutual Insurance, providing insurance for farmers by farmers. Susquehanna Bank, proudly serving the Everett area community with a full range of banking, financial, and investment services. Susquehanna Bank, a smarter way to bank. Learn more at susquehanna.net. Member FDIC. And the Everett Food Liner, a family-owned and operated business providing the grocery needs to our friends and neighbors for over 40 years. Proud to be a part of our Town Everett. And from viewers like you, thanks.
Hi, I'm Travis Collins, and I've lived in Everett for 11 years, and I decided to do my piece on the way news travels in Everett. The main thing that we have here in town is the Shopper's Guide, which is a local newspaper, locally run, a small storefront on Main Street. And the guy that I interviewed for that, Paul Price, is involved in many aspects of the town. Pretty much you turn your face and you see Paul standing somewhere. He's either in a fireman's outfit, a Santa Claus suit, or at an Everett business event.
Probably one of the biggest things in my life has been serving the community, and that's what I enjoy doing. It's not something that I do because I expect anything from it. It's just something that needs to be done. And I'm not the only one that does it. There are hundreds of people around here that do it. And one of the biggest things that I like to do is I like to encourage people to encourage other people to do it. And the easiest way to encourage people is by making notice of what they've done.
You pick up the Shopper's Guide and you read a lot of interesting stories about what's going on in the town. And Paul himself actually has a piece that's called A Gift from the Heart. And it's always interesting to talk or to read, to find out some tidbit of information about someone.
One of my neighbors at that time, ironically, read the column the day after he'd just been furloughed from a job that he'd been at for 20 plus years. And he called me at home and he said, "You couldn't have hit that any better, because I just lost my job yesterday." And he said, "It was just like that column was written to me." And I said, "Well, trust me, it wasn't written for you, because I wrote it on Monday and you didn't get furloughed till Friday." And he said, "Yeah," but he said, "Isn't it funny how that worked?" And I said, "Yes, it is."
The flip side of that is the verbal way that news travels in Everett, which is through the barber shop. Gary Black, who is the same type of personality, real happy person, and everyone knows him. Everyone loves both of them, and they're just a couple great guys. Now, at the barber shop, you get a little bit different take on the type of news that you hear about. So
we talk hunting, fishing. If a truck driver comes in, we're truckers. If a farmer comes in, we're farmers. A school teacher, we're teachers. It's just it's just a real variety that you get to deal with all the time, and we have a lot of fun. Every now and then we get carried away a little bit.
There's a lot of things that probably are more gossip than actual news, but that's what makes it fun.
Well, I had a little boy here one day and he was crying, and the shop was setting full, and a gentleman stuck his head in the door and he said, "Are you cutting or are you talking?" And I said, "A little bit of both." And I said, a gentleman spoke up and he said, "Do you hear this little boy crying?" He said, "Yeah." And he said he's been here for so long his feet outgrew his shoes and his feet hurt. I said, so, sometimes we take our time.
There's a lot of pranks that get pulled by the customers on Gary Black, and he retaliates a little bit as well. So it's just a really fun, it's actually something fun to even talk about in the town, is what happened at Black's Barber Shop.
Came to work the other morning and I seen something taped on the door right here. I stopped and here was this level. Now, as you can see, you know, it's kind of crooked. And there was a little note that said, Gary, you are such a level-headed person. That's why we're giving you this quality torpedo level, because of your desire to give to the community. P.S. Garrett, my son, wants to be just like you when he grows up. Love, Vanessa and Garrison Leonard. I said, this is what makes a man's day.
Town would probably be a pretty boring place without the Shopper's Guide, and definitely without Gary Black's Barber Shop. Just the nature of the people that live here in Everett, though, I'm sure that Gary Black's would carry on at some other location, though.
Hi, I'm Jeff Whetstone. I've lived in Everett 54 years, and I did my story on the historical perspective of the Everett area. Everett area sort of evolved through 5 different names. The first was basically referred to as Alleguippa Town. He was a chief of the Algonquins, the Indians that lived here. Later, there was a massacre called the Bloody Run Massacre. There was a group of General Braddock's British men that were guarding a wagon train of supplies and cattle that were attacked by the Delaware and Shawnee Indians. The waters are supposed to have run red with the blood of the men, cattle, and everything that was involved in the massacre. Later on, the name started to stick to the creek as Bloody Run, and the area started becoming Bloody Run. But then, Mrs. Elizabeth Tussey, whom the mountains are still named after, Tussey's Mountain, moved a tavern to the actual site of the Bloody Run Massacre. The area started to be referred to as Tussey's. It wasn't until the Barndallers and the Tates moved into the area, it was called Waynesburg, and it was named after the Revolution General Anthony Wayne. Then, in 1873, they voted to change the name to Everett, in honor of Edward Everett, the orator that spoke with Lincoln at Gettysburg. Everett's a very nice town. I've actually traveled all over the world, and I think that the Everett area is beautiful with the mountains and the scenery, and I'm always glad to come back here after I've been traveling.
I'm Rodney Green, and I'm the superintendent of the Everett Area School District. I've been here for about 4 years as superintendent and have very much become a part of the community. And I did my filming today on a few things in the community, but especially on our schools and the school district itself. Our district is I think, unique in that, first off, of its size. We cover 300 square miles, which is quite a distance in Bedford County. We have about 1,500 students, almost 200 employees in our school district. The Everett Area High School and Middle School, which was just created last year, a middle school program, is right here in Everett, and it's beside the Allegheny College of Maryland on site. We also have Everett Elementary School, which is located on the other side of the river that runs through our town, the Juniata River. And that school is about 450 to 500 students enrollment. Then we have 3 smaller schools. One is in Breezewood Elementary School. The other one is Mam Monroe Elementary School, which is in the Clearville area. And finally, we have Cheneysville Cove Elementary School, which is south of Clearville, about another 10 miles south of Clearville. And again, it's a smaller school with about 47 students. Our schools are very involved with the community. Our teachers feel that the students come first. They work on the academics with them. They provide help at all levels. We have an excellent special education program for those students who need additional help. We also have a tremendous music program. Our band program in the last 4 years has taken a band that was about 30 band members up to over 130 members now. So we have a lot of pride in our music program throughout the entire school district. We also have quite an arts program in the visual arts and graphic arts, and we have a strong athletic tradition in our community. And again, as you go around the community, even today, you'll see some different activities that are athletic activities. So people do take a lot of pride in the schools at all levels, and they take a lot of pride especially in both the academic and the extracurricular achievements of our students. Everett reminds me very much of my hometown because it has a main street. And there's a vitality there that you can see, and I've become very familiar with a lot of the business people as being superintendent of the school district. And even with the river, I kind of grew up with a local cottage on a river not too far from here, so I have that connection to the river also. I like to fish and swim, and so Everett was a very easy choice for me to make, to come and feel very connected to the community.
My name is Amy Snyder. I am from Snake Spring Valley, sort of a suburb of Everett, and I'm a newbie here. I have only lived here for 3 years, and I've learned a lot during doing this project and met new people. I shot the Snake Spring Brethren Church in Snake Spring Valley. Being that I've only lived here for 3 years, one of the unique things that I've found about the area, that this Snake Spring Brethren Church is actually the center of this community. And still today, in this time of the internet and online shopping and all of those things that allow us not to be in human contact, Snake Spring Valley is still very much a community that is centered around this church. In 1782, a man by the name of Jacob Snyder came from Maryland and settled in Snake Spring Valley, which was known as Yellow Creek then, and started the first Brethren Church. He happens to be unique to my family, or my in-laws' family, because he is in my husband's ancestry. He created the church, built a house, a small house, with a second story that became the sanctuary for the church. So as other people came, settled in the area, that is where they worshiped. In 1860, they built the first church. It was on Daniel Hirschberger's farm. Then in 1890, because the congregation grew more, they started a Sunday school program, and they actually built on a second story of that church for the Sunday school classrooms. And that is what stands today. This Snake Spring Church of the Brethren is also important to the area because 6 other churches were formed from it in the area, and most of those still exist today.
Hello, I'm Denise Bouch. I'm from Everett, Pennsylvania. I've lived here most of my life, and I decided to do my pieces on the spirit of Everett and volunteerism. I think we have so many good organizations in Everett where people have dedicated years of service and leadership to those organizations. One of those is the Everett Free Library. We have a terrific board of directors, and the library has been in this community for years, and it really serves the community well. In front of the Everett Free Library, we have a special tree. It's the ginkgo tree, and we are trying to preserve the tree. Mike and Laura Jackson are 2 Everett residents that are science teachers. They are both retired, and they really get involved in the community and make sure we keep this area preserved, and they had some other facts to share with us.
And the ginkgo tree is native to the country of China. The leaves have a unique shape. They remind me of an open umbrella. And I know a lot of students from the community would come to the ginkgo tree and gather a sample of those leaves for their leaf collections each year.
We know it's an old tree, it's a big tree, it's affecting the sidewalks, but we have a plan that we're going to put into action to try to save the tree so that we can enjoy it and so other generations can enjoy it too.
As a community, we formed an educational foundation of educators within the county to bring higher education to Bedford County. We asked various colleges in Pennsylvania, and they could not step up to the plate, for say, at that time. So we contacted Allegheny College of Maryland in Cumberland, Maryland, and they came and they met our needs in Bedford County for higher education. I was able to interview the president of our foundation, Dan Kuntz.
Everett really cares about our young people. We want them to be able to get higher education right here in their community while they're living at home. Hopefully they will also be able to use that training and get a job in an industry that has located itself here in Bedford County.
Another form of volunteerism in Everett is the Everett Fire Company. I made a visit to the Everett Fire Company on a Thursday evening and videotaped the fire trucks that the fire company are very proud of. They work endless hours to get the funding to purchase these trucks. One of the things that they do is have bingo every Thursday night as a fundraiser. And I visited the bingo room and videotaped the players. I also stopped by the trophy room and the front entrance of the fire department. We have families that have been involved with the Everett Fire Company for years, 30, 40 years, some of them. Everett's a wonderful place to raise your family. That is why we chose to stay here. Instead of moving out of the area, we raised our son and daughter. They now live in the Lancaster area, but they love to come back to Everett.
Hi, I'm Denny Snyder, and I've lived in Snake Spring Valley, which is just over the mountain from Everett, for about 43, 44 years. It's just down the road from Everett. We consider it our hometown. I decided to do the recreational and sports end of this, our Town Everett, because it's just such an open area, and it was fun to do. We started out the Mid-State Trail, which I had no knowledge of whatsoever until somebody else had told me about it. And I met with Deborah Dunkel, who's actually just been named the regional or sectional manager of this part of the trail that comes around Everett. And it was very interesting to see something that's been in my own backyard that I had no clue whatsoever was there before.
I think the most exciting part of working the trail is actually hiking it and having such the peaceful nature and just back to nature and seeing the green. And you're away from the asphalt and you're away from all the pressures and away from the office for me, so that it's so peaceful you could take a nap, or you might even see some Indians coming out through the Warriors Ridge here off of Tussey Mountain.
We were very lucky to run into Laura and Mike Jackson, who were on the trail actually when we were filming that segment.
We really like Tussey Mountain. It's right behind our house. On top is the Mid-State Trail. It's also an important bird area, which means that it's well known throughout really the world for its migrating raptors and hawks, as well as the songbirds that nest on Tussey Mountain.
They also did some kayaking. We got some shots of them kayaking down the Racetown branch of the Juniata River. It's another big thing that people can do around here. We went to Tenley Park, which is a community-funded park in back of Everett. They have pavilions and a barbecue pit and some of your typical things you expect out of a park, but a beautiful pond, great scenery, very nice place to have a picnic or any other kind of gathering. We went to Everett Little League softball fields down in Everett. The girls' local softball teams were playing. Looks like they were having a full slate of games there, and we just took some shots there. Snyder Farm was my grandfather's farm and then my father's farm. They had a ball field there, which was the home field for some of the Everett and Snake Spring teams for years and years in the 40s and 50s, I believe. Two things that are kind of connected to, one to the field and in particular, that area, the farm there. In the woods, a major league player had actually used that for hunting, and he has kind of an ignominious connection to baseball. His name was Carl Mays, and he's actually the only player to kill another baseball player in Major League history. So I thought it was kind of an interesting little sidelight that they'd have a little bit of an Everett connection there to that. Also, down by the Little League fields, tucked away in a little corner is a baseball field. And through different oral histories, I've heard that they've had barnstorming teams of Major League players. They would kind of mix it up with local players, some of the better local players, and play there on that baseball field. And one of the players who played on that field was Carl Furillo. He was a member of the famous Brooklyn Dodger teams of the 50s, the Bums they called them. And I thought it was another unique kind of slant that on the Everett field that he had played on one of those barnstorming teams and played against some of the Everett people and Snake Spring men. And a unique twist to his career, I thought, was after he retired from baseball, he actually became one of the people who installed elevators at the World Trade Center. So I thought, well, that's kind of shows you what a small world we have, a little bit of connection there. I like Everett because it's friendly. There's plenty to do. If you're looking for it, there's plenty to do, always. Family-oriented, a lot of history. It's just a nice place.
I'm Frank Dunkel. I've been here 80 years almost, and I remember in my youth that there were 5 new car dealerships right on Main Street. There were 5 grocery stores right on Main Street, 7 new wearing apparel stores. None of them exist anymore. Been replaced by other types of businesses and stuff. And it's an ongoing growth thing that's happened. Everett used to be the hub for all of the surrounding areas for shopping, till the shopping malls came in. We have parallel parking on Main Street now. At one time we had angled parking. You pulled in and you backed out, you usually got hit by someone coming through town. But what the big deal was then, we didn't have shopping malls. Saturday night, the town jumped, man. And your thing was to come downtown, get a parking place, and observe all the people participating going up and down Main Street. And it was Saturday night entertainments before television, and radio was just coming in. We'd get together and watch or listen to Joe Louis boxing matches on radio. That was a big thing. And things had just evolved. We had a going theater down there till television struck, and now the only thing left of the theater is the marquee outside. Remember the 1936 flood that wiped out the place and changed a whole series of stores in town. And we did get funds from the state. We put in a flood levy in the 1950s, which has saved the town several times on later flooding. We had a Main Street renovation project that changed the whole downtown landscape, and it was very nice. And we've established Tenley Park now, which is a 50-acre tract right outside the borough that we're spending a lot of funds on and stuff. So the contour and the shape of town is ongoing changing, and I'm glad it is. It looks very good downtown. People are more taking care of the properties better than they used to, and I'm just well pleased with everything.
Hi, I'm Don Sylvester, and I've lived in Everett for 35 years, and we viewed Main Street and the businesses that are on the main area of Everett. I think we're fortunate in the fact that we have several 3rd and 4th generation businesses in our community that are still in operation. And in conjunction with that, we also have some new businesses that offer a unique thing to a small town. I think in the multi-generational businesses, we have a store called Sponsor's, which is a small grocery store and meat market. We have McFarland Furniture, which is a full-service furniture store and interior design. We have Sleester's Furniture, which is also a furniture and floor covering outlet. And in the way of our unique stores, we have Night Gems, which has a registered gemologist, which will custom make any piece of jewelry for you. We have Barber's Custom Framing, which is a sale point for Michael Barkman watercolors. Michael Barkman was a renowned artist in the field of watercolors and is from Bedford County. We're fortunate to have at Everett Shoe the only shoe repairman left in Bedford County after several years in business, the only one that's still surviving, and I think that's unique in a lot of towns. One of the other unique businesses in town would be Zimmerman's Hardware, still one of the hardware stores you can walk in and say, I got a problem, solve it for me, and they're able to do that, which I think is unique to small towns. The Igloo is now an ice cream parlor, which is frequented by young and old of the community. That building is unique in design. It was started out as a model home for an Ovalo home, then became a computer center, and for many years now has been sort of the collection point for the Little League players and those that want to enjoy a nice ice cream cone after an event or on a warm evening. Mom and Pop's grocery store is located in an old building in Everett, and that building has housed a number of different businesses over the years. It was a truck dealership, then it was a Chrysler dealership, then it was a hardware store, and now it's Mom and Pop's grocery store. And the nice thing about Mom and Pop's grocery store is for those people who don't drive and live downtown in apartments or other places, they can walk there and get their groceries. It's a discount grocery store, so I guess it's helpful to some people who prefer to shop in that environment. I think the businesses of Everett do their very best in an effort to provide service, which may not always be the case with some larger businesses, but they try to service not only their customers, but when you walk into a business in Everett and you ask, where do I find a certain item, I think that business owner will say, well, you just go down the street 3 or 4 doors and they've got that item. And I think that's what makes small town businesses important, and their service is outstanding. I think Everett is a good place for businesses to locate. I think we have a good population base and we have a diverse business base, but I think it's just a good community overall. We have a quality school system, we have excellent recreational opportunities, and that coupled with the ability to live in a small town and raise your children here just appeals to a lot of people, and I think that's what's kept the business community alive over the years up to this point in time.
Hi, my name is Pat Morgard. I've worked with the Historical Society in Everett for some time, spent most of my life growing up in Everett, and I have worked with the Foundry segment of this program. The Foundry Machine Shop was built in Everett in 1855. It made dinner bells, and it was famous for its plow. The dinner bells are very valuable today if you can find one, and the chunk stoves, which they also made there, and the Everett, or we call it the Bloody Run, because that was the name of Everett at the time. Plow it was just a really big deal in its day. There is one of those on display up at the Historical Society here in Everett. The machine shop burned and then was rebuilt in 1873. And then in the 1970s, it took on a different life. It became an art studio. Robin and Melinda Myers Grass are the artists who turned the old foundry into this art studio. They are very talented and very known in the art world. They take the students into their home, which is now an art studio as well, and they let them learn to express themselves with pencil, pen, and paint. The studio itself is beautiful. The addition of many windows lightened this facility, which one time was like a dark cave. And it is just a block off of Main Street, Everett. It's on the Historic District listing, and it's also on the Lincoln Highway corridor. I feel that it's a cultural asset to Everett and to the community in the whole, that these people can come here and they can learn. Everett is a nice place to live, and it's an easy place to get to other places when you want something more exciting or you want some extreme shopping. We have some interesting stores. We have a lot of interesting people. We have a lot of history. We have a wonderful college. We have an excellent school system. What more could you want?
My name is Amy Snyder. I am from Snake Spring Valley. I also shot the Carnes car. This seems to be sort of a mystery of Everett and a story of destiny. The Carnes car was a car that was made, created, built by a man by the name of Chester Carnes. And at the age of 16, he orchestrated the development of this car. And he proceeded to try to get backing for the car. And at the same time, his competition was Henry Ford and the Model T. And unfortunately, the Model T is the car that got the backing. And really a twist of fate, because Everett, Pennsylvania could have been Detroit, Michigan. And he proceeded to drive the car around, all of those things. Finally, the car goes into storage. A man, a friend of his, a financial advisor, held the car in storage. Close to the time of the bicentennial, plans were being made to pull the car back out and have it seen again by the public in the celebration of 1976. Suddenly, the car turns up missing. The car was said to have traveled to York, Pennsylvania, and stayed in a car museum. Supposedly had burnt in the car museum, never to be seen again. So we sort of fast forward to 2000, 2002, to a high school girl who decides to find out if the car, one, ever really existed, and two, if it did exist, where it actually is today. I had the opportunity to speak with Chelsea Dunkel, who is the student who found the Carnes car and solved the mystery for Everett.
We were able to track the VIN number and track a different car and find 2 titles to the same car. And while I was working on this project, a gentleman approached the Everett historian, Barbara Miller, giving her a card with his name and address on it and saying, "I think I have a car you're interested in." And he pointed to the old Carnes car that was on a picture in the Automobile Association's memo that was registered under Chester Carnes. And we contacted Steve Barker. We asked him to bring the car to Everett because Everett thought that the car had been missing for years. We brought it back in May of 2005 for Memorial Day weekend and had a big weekend celebration. We contacted Chester Carnes' son, Bill. He is 94 years old. One of his wishes was to see the car again, and to get a ride in it was just a thrilling experience.
And so Mr. Barker still owns the car, but is gracious enough to bring the car back pretty much on a yearly basis to Everett. In his car, you could actually be a backseat driver because the steering wheel actually comes up through the back seat and your passengers sit in front of you. The car could move at 35 miles per hour, and it was lit by oil lamps, brass ones, on the front of the car. The hopes are that Everett Borough might become the benefactor of the car in the future. I think that Everett, Pennsylvania is a nice town because of its community atmosphere, the fact that it is becoming rejuvenated, and there are definitely things happening here, and a lot of history to boot.
Hi, I'm Carol Windsor, and I live in the Everett area. I'm familiar with the Everett area because my mother used to live here. She retired here in the middle 60s, my mother and my brother, and so I had many opportunities to come and vacation up here and spend some time in Everett. My husband and I retired about 11 years ago, so when the time came, we simply decided to retire here. We have never regretted moving from the Washington, Maryland area up here. It's a very quiet, peaceful town and very comfortable. It just make you feel at home. When we settled here in Everett, we found out that Everett offered some small town things, like your parades. And the watching the parades and the twirlers and the bands, the local bands, the school bands, and that just made it feel so much more comfortable. And the churches here have been wonderful. It's a very friendly town. Everyone here is generally quite friendly and hospitable to you. So we've thoroughly enjoyed Everett. We like every bit of it and hope to stay forever.
Hi, my name's Carolyn Carroll. And I'm Barbara Miller. Carolyn's my daughter. We videotaped the Everett Cemetery. We did the Everett Railroad Station and the Everett Hardwood Lumber Company. The railroad station is the home of the Bloody Run Historical Society. We meet every month and try to keep the history of Everett going and trying to keep the history of the railroad station going. We have a museum there and a small gift shop. The Everett Cemetery was founded in 1873, and it was laid out originally as a walking park along with the cemetery. And you go down there today and you can see the people walking, and day and night you find people walking in the cemetery. The back end of the cemetery is a GAR plot where there is a cannon that the United States government donated to the town. The GAR section, that's where all the military services in Everett is done, like on the 30th of May, Memorial Day. The soldiers are buried in that plot around the cannon. We have some very important people buried in the Everett Cemetery that most people don't know. John C. Baker, president of Ohio U, is buried in the Everett Cemetery. Chester Carnes, who built the Carnes car. Colonel George Giffen is buried in the Everett Cemetery. He flew Air Force One for 3 different presidents. So we've got some honorable people buried there too.
Barn Dollar Row in the Everett Cemetery is where the founding father of Everett is buried at, along with his wife Catherine and several of his children. Michael Barn Dollar died in 1818. He was also the one that built the Union Hotel in Everett.
The Everett Hardwood Building was originally the cottage planing mill, and then the Gibney family bought it, and it was the Gibney planing mill, and then the Ford family took it over, and it was the Everett Hardwood Lumber Company, and it was one of the major industries in Everett for many, many years.
I find that Everett being a small, quiet town where everybody knows everybody, at times that may get on people's nerves that everybody knows everyone's business, but also if you ever need a friend or a favor, you're overwhelmed with people that's willing to come and help you. And I feel that living in a small town has really great benefits from being more than just neighbors. We're all family.
Living here in Everett has been a wonderful experience. I have never even dreamed of living anywhere else.
I'm Jeff Whetstone, and I've lived in Everett 54 years. And I did my story on a lot of the historical perspective of the Everett area. John Patton actually bought 12,500 acres that covered the Everett area in 1738, and he erected his house. The Patton House is very interesting. It is probably the oldest remaining structure in Bedford County, and by far in Everett. It was built in 1738. The house was remodeled under a grant from the Pennsylvania Historical Commission, so it has been researched and official. The Indian Seats are a limestone natural formation that's located on Warriors Ridge, and they are very much look like Indian seats. There's a little seat and a place for your legs that you can sit. There's actually 3 of them. We were always told that the one's the king's seat, the other one is the queen's seat. She sits at the left-hand side, and the other rock would be the warrior's seat. There's a brick barber shop on Water Street in Everett, and it was used as a headquarters during the Civil War in the Gettysburg Campaign by General Robert Milroy and Colonel Lewis B. Pierce. In Winchester, General Worley had to remove the Union presence there because that was where Lee was going to retreat after Gettysburg Campaign. So he defeated Milroy, and all the people walked here over 3 days to come to Everett area. The reason is because of the train. This is the first area that a train was available to get supplies and reinforcements. So they set up fortifications right here in Everett, or then known as Bloody Run. They dug these trenches and all the fortifications on Warriors Ridge. Notice the hole drilled in the rock to hold a battle flag. Everett's a very nice town. It's warm and friendly people. It's a good place to raise a family, and it's just enjoyable to be here.
Hi, I'm Travis Collins, and I've lived in Everett for 11 years. My partner and I, Rodney Bear, started BC Stone Incorporated in 1993, and we have the Union Hotel being remodeled. We saw the hotel over the several years in disrepair and unoccupied, and both of us wanted a really nice restaurant, and that's kind of how it started out. We decided to purchase the property off the former owners and started remodeling it, and the project just kept growing and growing and growing and took on a life of its own. What our vision for the hotel is to be able to bring in clientele from out of the area to view a lot of the marble and granite that we've put in, which is what we do, and really showcase our work. And we hope to get a lot of people from out of the area that come in and want to spend time in Everett, and hopefully will spin off from that. I see myself as doing everything I can to help out the community to grow and become a better place to live. That's kind of our, I mean, I know that if you want to live in a better place or if you want a better life, you're responsible to do that, so, and contribute as much as possible, and I try to do that as much as I can. We're looking for an opening here in the fall of this year. There's been a lot of buzz, a lot of expectation from the local people. You know, I get a lot of support for it, and that's helped us along too. If it wasn't for the local support that we've had, we'd have probably thrown the towel in a long time ago, but, you know, both of us love the town, and we really want to see this thing through. So,
I'm Ed Wallace.
And I'm Phyllis Wallace, and we've lived in the Everett area for 12 years. And the topic of our videoing is our home place, which is known as the Newry Manor. We started with the Luttsville Road, which was originally part of the Old Warriors Path and was petitioned by John Lutz in 1812 to be made into a road, which you see today. Then we included the Juniata River, which was important to that area, especially to the original family, because it's how they got their products and their raw goods to market or from market.
Back in the old days, I mean, this was country. And I guess your main source of transportation was a canoe on a river or a flatboat, you know, a flat-bedded boat, because the river's not that deep.
Then we did the Indian Monument, which is a very important monument to the people in the area. What you see there is a replacement because the original one was destroyed, but it was such an important thing to the people that we decided to try to get one back on, which we were able to with their help. Then we did the Juniata Woolen Mill, which was the crux of that whole area for the family that lived there, and it brought their income for years and years and years.
Originally, it was a weaver's mill, weavers that were there, and then as time progressed, it became a woolen mill. And then the road was built, and the wool could be carted to the market. And during the Mexican-American War and the Civil War, the mill manufactured socks and blankets for the soldiers.
And it was used until the flood of 1936. And when the flood came through, it tore off the back part of the mill. Then what was left was exposed to the elements for 70 years. And this past year, the backside of the mill was replaced exactly as it looked when it was put there in 1805. And then the last thing we did the log cabin, because that was the original home of the Lutz family. It was built in 1790, and then it was moved over to be part of the Newry Manor itself.
History was one of my interests that I enjoyed. And the property we have is the ideal example of how life was in the beginning. The home place, the mill across the road, the river for the power, and the road was built so it could get things to market.
And we were looking at some place that would provide us with a low-key kind of life, and we thought that we found it here. And the people are friendly. When you walk down the street, you have people who know you, and you don't get that in a metropolitan area. They made us feel welcome. Even though we're called transplants, they made us feel real welcome.
My name is Bruce Maxwell, and I have lived in Everett, the Everett community, for 15 years. And Gary Blankley and I did filming of the churches of this area. And a couple of the stops that we made, the First Christian Church, the Everett United Methodist Church, the Zion Lutheran Church, and Grace Brethren, Everett Church of the Brethren, and others, Everett Assembly of God.
We have a lot of beautiful architecture in those churches. Sometimes I think that's easily forgotten. We have some beautiful stained glass windows in those churches. We have two that you'll see on the video. That one is the Brethren Church and the other one is the Everett United Methodist Church, the stained glass windows of those two. Plus I also took a video of the organ in the Everett Methodist Church. That organ was purchased by funds donated by the Carnegie family in Pittsburgh.
We filmed at the Love Inc. Ministry Center. They're refitting and renovating the interior of this, basically a warehouse, and making it suitable as a ministry center. And it will serve a variety of needs in terms of counsel, in terms of outreach, in terms of food bank, pantry, furniture resource center, all kinds of things that will be available for the community.
The people of Love Inc. are a caring group of people. They're more than willing to donate their time, their money, their talents, to help those that are less fortunate. And really, that's what I think it's all about, helping others.
Another of the outreach ministries that many of the churches participate in is the food banks. There's a ministerium food pantry and a Red Cross affiliated food bank and Angel Food Ministries. There's an ecumenical Christian outreach in Breezewood, which is a neighboring community, Trucker Traveler Ministry, of which I serve as chaplain. And there are community services that the Everett Area Ministerium sponsors. Lots of different ways that the community works together, and we're just thrilled about that.
Because Everett is a small community, it's pretty quiet. Not a lot goes on here, but we have individuals with a lot of heart, really care about their community.
We have very active, alive churches. Many of them have undertaken tremendous mission outreach ministries, building programs, and we're all quite excited about that.
I think Everett bends over backwards to try and be a friendly town. And I think the motto, the little town that can, and I think it's a little town that does. I think they truly go out of their way to make everybody feel welcome. That's just us. That's just what we're all about. It's hard to find an unfriendly person in Everett. There may be some, but you would have to look to find them. You really would.
Our Town Everett has been made possible in part by Everett Cash Mutual Insurance, providing insurance for farmers by farmers, and Susquehanna Bank, proudly serving the Everett area community with a full range of banking, financial, and investment services. Susquehanna Bank, a smarter way to bank. Learn more at susquehanna.net. Member FDIC.